And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Getting your thoughts on the big event last night, the vigil, the rally, call it what you will. Thousands of people showing up in downtown Boise to show their support for the victims of Tim Kenner, who was arraigned yesterday. We'll get your thoughts on that at 580-5436. And really one of those never-ending topics, the solution to violence, whether it's more mental health issues, and then we have the disclosure that, oh my, the Idaho prison system is in trouble because it's overcrowding. What do we do with all the people that are in the prisons? The people that are convicted, the people that are bad people. In some places, we let them out. In some places, we put them in other facilities, and they escape. And look, it's no fault of law enforcement. It comes down to the fact that we're running out of things. And I'm thinking to myself, who in the world is running things if the prisons are overflowing and we don't plan for anything? What is that? You don't plan to fail, you fail to plan. It's failure? Something like that? I know it's early. My goodness gracious. So we'll take your calls on that. If you missed it, we've been talking about the comments of Timmy Kenner yesterday arraigned in Ada County.
I don't understand none of this, sir.
He is charged with murder. He's charged with the stabbings. He's going to be in jail for quite some time. We don't know if this will be a death penalty case yet, but we do have immense confidence in the folks at Ada County and the prosecutor's office.
What about the right to gather evidence?
Clearly, Mr. Kenner is disturbed, and you'd have to be to commit those crimes that he's accused of. Let's go to Keith in the Boise bench, KIDO Talk Radio. Keith, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. So, I really like watching you try to look for solutions. Boy, do we need them. We need some solutions. But all I can think of is, the people that the good mayor of Boise is welcoming into our community. All these people that are so welcoming, do they really know who they're bringing in here? I do, because I see it. 20 years ago on my street, at night it would be quiet, nice. Now I've got unsavory characters walking up and down my road at all hours, and on the Boise bench. And they just keep welcoming more. And of course, you're going to get some mentally ill people like this Timmy guy coming in here. But my solution is, let's look at the people who are so welcoming, okay? Because they're bringing them in here. I don't want these people here, but I'm just one little citizen. But the system, all these good liberal-type people, Democrat-type people, they're bringing in these, I'm sorry to say, but like lower-class people who are just going to always vote Democrat. And I say this because I watched programs about refugees across America. Every refugee I've ever seen question when they ask, like in the last presidential election, who you voting for? Hillary. Okay? So it just seems like a political ploy or attack or something that these Democrats do. They bring in these people that are on the welfare, and they're always going to be on the welfare. And then here come the crazies. And now me, I got the crazies walking up and down my road every day, every night, hanging out by the Maverick right by my house. Crazy. So let's if there is a solution to stop this, which I think it's probably too late, let's look at those welcoming people that are just flooding Boise with these kind of people. Let's get them to try to change the way they think. You think that's possible?
Well, and here's the skinny on this, and this is where we get into, I don't want to say dangerous water, but interesting water. When this first happened, I'm sure people in the mainstream media thought that this was going to be a hate crime, and people could go after the state of Idaho and say, well, this is a guy from Idaho Falls or some guy born and bred in Idaho, and it wasn't. It was a African-American from California. It wasn't a white guy from Pocatello. It wasn't anti-refugee. But what we're seeing here is, Obama brought these folks in, and you see a lot of people like Mayor Beater welcoming them and that sort of thing. But there should be, on the other hand, there should be questions. Hey, are these people properly vetted? How much government stuff are they getting? But if you mention that, then you're a bad person.
Can I say this? Somebody invited Mr. Timmy to live in that apartment complex. if there's any justice in this world, I would like to know who that is, why did they do it, and they need to be responsible because the guy's a nut job, and they invited this man to live with them. I heard it was a woman. I don't know, but somebody invited this guy to live in this apartment building.
Well, then they threw him out, and no one thought that old Timmy was a threat. And as I said, I ran into somebody that I work with. They talked to Timmy on Friday night, and all he could talk about was his time in Memphis. And I guess, his time is 3 months and 10 months in prison there. There's a big warning. Some stranger comes into your complex. He's done time in the Tennessee pen. Maybe it's time to call the cops.
And I'll tell you, sir, that's so true. But let me just say, for me, the thing that really changed me about Boise, and I'm looking for a way to get out of Boise now. But I'll tell you this: about 6 months ago, when I was retiring from the service, I was walking into a Walmart over here on Overland and Cole, and I'm white. I had a black male approach me. I was wearing my old, worn-out ABU pants that when I do landscaping, that's what I wear. He comes up to me and he says, "Are you proud of what you did overseas, you baby killer?" I'm like, "I'm not a baby killer, dude. Just leave me alone." But this has been going on, so when you, for at least a year now, when you walk out of your house in Boise now, you're accosted by these people. And it's just crazy. And so, we're living, I guess, in a big city. I've never lived in a big city till now. Because when I first moved to Boise, it was a little town, and it was nice. It was beautiful. And now it's kind of like a city. And so what we're doing in my house, we're getting big dogs. We're doing the open carry thing. That's how it's going to be, I guess.
Well, and not only that, but you have a lot of people, Keith, at least you're preparing. You have a lot of people that they're like the Polish cavalry, and you got the blitzkrieg coming. They don't understand the thinking of these predators that are moving in, predators like Timmy and others.
Sure. Yeah, just pray for us. Pray for us all, Kevin. We love what you do. You're a good man, and just you take care, and we'll just hold on tight to what we got left in this city of Boise, okay?
You're a smart man, Keith. God bless.
God bless you, sir. Take care.
You too. 580-5436. 580-KIDO. We continue on. Let's go to Joe. Whoop, sorry, Joe. We'll hang on. We'll go to Liberty Linda, and then we'll go to Joe in Meridian. Good morning, Liberty Linda on KIDO Talk Radio.
Yes, good morning, Kevin. I have a friend that came over in the 90s, and he was from Croatia. He already had an aunt that lived here in the United States, and it took him years to put in paperwork to be approved to even come over here. And he had to live with his aunt for a few years. And then it took 7 years before he could become, a part of our nation, a citizen. And they respect our country so much because of that. And so what's going on today, I just don't understand. We need to have respect for our country like those people did when they came over. It took 7 years before they could become a citizen and the paperwork, but yet they had the respect. And I think that's what we're missing today, respect for our nation.
Right, but, Mr. Kenner, he was born in America. He's from California, through Utah, through Tennessee.
Well, I don't understand what he was saying in court.
Well,
he knows what he did. He
right.
did it. We have proof that he did it.
Right.
And it was horrendous.
Well, unless he's smart and he's trying to, come up with an insanity defense.
I don't understand none of this, sir. What about the right to gather evidence?
I don't understand evidence. Don't we have evidence on him?
There's a lot of evidence on him.
It seems like we do. Anyway, I think we need more respect for our country and more respect. There should be a system to come to this country and become citizens. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say today, Kevin. And thank you. Love your show every morning. Love tuning in and listening to your show. You're absolutely wonderful.
Well, God bless, Liberty Linda. You take care. Thank you.
You as well, Kevin. May the Lord be with you.
And with you. Bye-bye.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye.
I guess we lost Joe in Meridian. We'll go to Brian in Nampa with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Brian.
Hey, Kevin. Long time no talk.
It's been a while.
Yeah, I got better and I went back to work and I work late, so I don't get to wake up and talk to you a lot.
This
So it's my day off.
this topic's right up your alley.
Yeah. Go read the book Inside the Criminal Mind. What people need to understand are these people's brains are different. They think different. You can't comprehend them unless you go understand that they totally think different than me and you do. And you're right. You're calling them a predator, and unfortunately, they get into our system, and sometimes they learn how to be worse in the system. I mean, they still have their choice whether or not they want to reform or whether they want to get worse. But this guy, I mean, it might just be as simple as he wants a free lunch ticket, and he got kicked out of his room and board, and he can't handle it out here on the outside, so he's deciding to go back in prison where it's easier. I mean, that's part of the problem. And I heard a little bit of the show yesterday as I was running around, and I agree. This is why we did the Second Amendment. When everything else fails, you got to take care of yourself, and not just with guns, with hand-to-hand and with other instruments. But yeah, it's unfortunate, but I got to give everybody a little bit of reality check here. I've lived in Michigan, South Carolina, North Carolina, Texas, been all over the country. This is going to happen as we get bigger, as more money comes in here. Politics change, it's going to happen, and you're going to have to get to the point where you can rely upon yourself. It's terrible this happens to kids, and I'm hearing a lot of great ideas, like the cops need to do this more, but ultimately it comes down to personal responsibility.
Right. All right. Do you feel comfortable carrying a weapon? Do you feel comfortable using a weapon? Do you feel comfortable stopping a predator? Based on your years in the criminal justice system, what do you make of Mr. Kenner?
He's scum. I mean, there's bad people on this planet. There's bad people since the creation of man, Cain and Abel. This is the reality of this planet. If you can't deal with that, you're going to be unprepared. And these predators know that, and they can read that in you, and they're going to come after you. Why do you think he picked kids? Because he knows they're easy targets. The only way you're going to change that is by changing your mindset. You remember I called in not too long ago and told you about the book, The Games Criminals Play and How to Profit by Knowing Them. What that book really should be called is The 14 Steps to Manipulation. If you understand how they do that and how they work, then you're ahead of them in the game, and they will not pick you out as a target because you're a threat to them. They pick out easy targets. That's the first thing they do. There's 2% of criminals out there that don't care. They hate life. They hate the world. The Combine Boys are an example. There's plenty of psychologists that have studied these guys. If you don't believe me, go look on YouTube. A guy named Jordan Peterson. He did his 12-step book, 12 Rules for Life. He talks about one of those rules, these types of people, and why they do what they do and who they are. And you have to learn about those people and learn how to deal with them. And if you don't, and you don't learn how to deal with it, they pick you out of a crowd and they come after you. Now, I'm not blaming the kids. The kids can't learn this stuff. They're young. There should be adults that learn this stuff and use it. But these people aren't going to go away. These problems aren't going to go away. In fact, I'll be honest, they're going to get worse. The only thing that can change is our knowledge of the subject and being prepared.
Brian, thank you for the call.
You bet. Nice talking to you, Kevin. I listen even if it's later.
Glad you're back to work, brother.
Yep. Thanks, man.
Thank you. Our great friend, Brian. 580-5436, 580-KIDO, and this has kind of moved into how not to be a victim. Of course, the press won't cover that. How many people are going out and buying weapons to protect themselves and their kids? Our thoughts and prayers go to the victims, to the people that are trying to recover. And let's hope that we deal with this in a safe and responsible way, that we don't make this a political decision. No, there were people out protesting yesterday. We want safety. We want safety. Well, safety is a luxury. It's not a right. And you have to protect yourself, unfortunately, because we have bad people moving into our beloved Treasure Valley looking for prey. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And don't forget, Girls with Guns 2018 is open now. Brought to you by Independence Indoor Shooting in Meridian, Idaho. Some great prizes this year. Thousands of people, thousands of votes the last time around. You believe last time around we had over 9 million votes? So Girls with Guns 3 brought to you by Independence Indoor Shooting. If you have a girl with a gun, we'd love to have a photo of it and see if your girl with the gun is the biggest here in the Treasure Valley. Let's go back to the phones. We go to Cindy in Caldwell with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Cindy.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. Just a shout out for everybody. Hopefully you will find a book and go. Eternal Father, Strong to Save is our Navy hymn. And for tomorrow, I hope you read to be encouraged. God is still sovereign and control. They will play that hymn, but they will never sing the verses. God hasn't left us. And of course, I am, and I'm going to say, praying specifically that comfort be brought to these parents and my God's peace to them. But that said, you know what, Kevin? There is $1.1 trillion spent from the federal government on all these kinds of programs, probably 90 in the state, to keep backing up this entitlement mentality through many different areas. Some of that money could be well spent, as I've said over and over and over again. You can take a DSM-3, which is a book, it's like diagnosis, how to drive a car. You have Insight, a book that tells you what person has what disease entity. The reality of the situation is you need both. I worked in a maximum security prison in Newtown, Connecticut. And so there are those that need to be incarcerated for a very long time, not under the social model that the liberals usually put out there when finally they put a bubble over the security in the prison as the prisoners were taking over the prison with this social model and throwing at the guards everything. They also need, and you can take some money and realize that some people are forever and a day mentally ill. That's why they had, and I've said it over and over again, Commissioner Worrell in the state of Connecticut, I looked at her once and I said, you seriously think
Cindy,
that you're putting people into the community?
Right.
We can't even get a jail, and they'll put a school up, but not realizing that you aren't protecting people like the security that's trying to work in these prisons. It's naive to think that a police person, whomever, is just going to be driving through a car unless you understand that the courts have to have people that are well trained instead of the social model on mental illness with people that are criminally insane. They're insane. And I don't know what it will continually take into this. People are afraid to say anything because of so many identity politics. You look what happened with those two that were in the Lighthouse mission that traveled across. If people say anything.
Now, hold on. I'm a little lost here. Let's get back to Timmy.
Yes. Totally psychotic.
Right.
I could just hear, you know what, and yet we don't want to have someone who could make a proper psychiatric diagnosis and say, well, what to do with this man?
Nobody wants to be a bad guy.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And the papers just want to stir up the thing about we are the bad guys, the people with the guns, and then there are the people with the love. And this whole thing, gets carried to the point of nothing could have probably, I hate to tell you people, the persecuted church around the world faces things like Timmy's every day from horrific terrorist groups. I'm not going to go sideways with that one, but that is just a fact. And it is in America right now. So until we wake up, and the other thing, Kevin, and I pray for that man every day because I worked at a mission in Bellingham, is, the Boise Rescue Mission. I hope you do realize that these people, probably on an everyday basis, are facing people that have the potential to be violent. And I pray for them.
And you see, here's the hidden secret that the people like the Boise Rescue Mission, Interfaith Sanctuary, St. Vincent de Paul, there's a lot, and you go back to Reagan shutting down the mental health facilities. You talk about mental illness, it's all over the place, but nobody talks about it, nobody reports on it, nobody does anything about it until you have a Timmy. And,
exactly.
And that's the point. Cindy, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Have a blessed day celebrating our nation's independence, Kevin.
Right back at you, sister.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. Bye.
Bye-bye. I mean, is this a mental illness issue? If you're just waking up, Timmy Kenner has been charged with first-degree murder.
What about the right to gather evidence?
This is what he said when the judge asked him, hey, why don't you want an attorney? What don't you understand?
What about the right to gather evidence?
Also, he said he doesn't know why he's in jail.
I don't understand none of this, sir.
Right. He doesn't understand. Well, it was charged with first-degree murder. We'll get your reaction next. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We've been taking your calls, your reaction to the big vigil yesterday. How to keep all of us safe, as if there were one just simple answer. And hearing from law enforcement. By the way, you know, it's good news. We want to thank the members of the Meridian Police Department for their service, their courage, and all police departments. But as you heard, that officer is home. You heard Officer Bastarella earlier today describe not one but two tourniquets used to save that officer's life. And this is in Meridian, Idaho, folks. The danger is here. And I don't say that to scare anybody, but to alarm people. We have been talking about this for years, the predators moving in, the big city predators, whether they're from California, whether they're from Los Angeles, whether they're from Portland, regardless. And if you missed it, here is Mr. Kenner being arraigned.
Are you Timmy Earl Kenner Jr., sir?
Timmy Kenner, sir. Yes, sir.
Monday afternoon, Ada County Judge Russell Comstock listed Timmy Kenner's charges, which included first-degree murder and the death of 3-year-old Ruia Kadir, who was celebrating her 3rd birthday when she was stabbed and ultimately died as a result of her injuries. The suspect is also being charged with 8 counts of aggravated battery and 1 count of use of a deadly weapon in commission of a crime. Charges that Kenner says he doesn't understand.
Do you understand what you've been charged with now, sir?
No, sir.
What don't you understand?
I don't understand none of this, sir. All I know is what? Say what? Hey, what about the right to gather evidence?
That's at a trial.
Kenner also refused his right to an attorney.
Did you wish to have an attorney represent you?
I wish to represent myself.
The prosecution described Kenner as homeless with no ties to the community, asking that he be held without bond or released on bond of $10 million.
Due to the nature of the alleged crimes, the lack of the defendant's contacts with the community, his criminal history, the court finds extreme risk to the community if he is released on bond. I will order that he be held without bond.
Moments leading up to Kenner's arrest Saturday, you can hear disturbing police dispatch audio of first responders arriving on scene.
Advise medics that there's some child victims on Wiley Lane. Apparently we have another victim down inside an apartment that we're still looking for. We need another medic unit out to 4643, apartment number 4643. It appears the victim's going into shock.
The prosecution says it's too early to say if they will be seeking the death penalty for Kenner, but is committed to seeking justice for the victims.
I would say that both law enforcement and my office are committed to public safety. We work very hard and very diligently at keeping our community safe, and we will continue to do that.
And there we have it from our news partner, KTVB Channel 7. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Jim in Meridian with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Kevin. I've lived coast to coast and lived and worked in quite a few countries overseas. I'd like to say the Meridian Police Department is the best police I have ever seen anywhere in the world.
certainly they're earning their keep lately, as well as all police around here.
They are the best. These Boise refugees, we can have sympathy for any victims of crime. I don't recall overseas hearing of any vigils for the Americans who were killed, and that happens every year. Every year Americans are killed overseas. Sometimes multiple groups of Americans have been killed, and some countries, quite a few Americans are killed, actually, if you look it up. But be that as it may, one of the most despicable aspects of this incident is the Democrats, I call them the Democratic Communist Party, like Mayor Beater, trying to spin this incident into a legitimization of the refugee racket and trying to make it legitimate based on the suffering of these people who were here. But I oppose the refugee racket on several major grounds. First of all, on constitutional grounds. Nothing in the Constitution gives this temporary federal administration, and they're always temporary under our Constitution, nothing gives them the power to tax you and me and take our money by force through the IRS and give it to foreigners for food stamps and free apartments and the rest of it, a car voucher. Nothing in the Constitution allows this government to do that and give it to foreigners, to bring them in on a free dime and pay for everything at mine and your expense. That's unconstitutional. And secondly, on a financial basis, the country has a $21 trillion debt. So even if these were the greatest people in the world, say every one of them was Mother Teresa, and it's a great cause, and it's just wonderful and beautiful, still we can't afford it. We're not in any position to be paying to bring in foreigners. There are over 200 homeless American children in Meridian.
Right.
And so why wouldn't, if we had excess money, which we don't, if we had it in this country, wouldn't it go to these Meridian American children first?
Well, and that's right, and that's what the president has talked about. Jim, thank you for the calls. Jim in Middleton, we'll get to you in a minute. First to New York. Patty J. Powers joining us from Fox News Radio with the latest on a terror attack thwarted, thankfully, in Cleveland, Ohio. Good morning.
Hey, Kevin.
So Cleveland loses LeBron, and thankfully they don't have a terror attack. It just goes to show you that these folks will never stop to harm us.
You're exactly right. And when you say these folks, let's be clear, this is an American-born citizen that has been, accused of doing this. His name is Demetrius Nathaniel Pitts, and he's 48. And he was living in Cincinnati when they got a tip, and I mean the FBI when I say they did some outstanding work stopping this guy. They got a tip. They noticed on his Facebook page his posts were disturbing, to say the least. They put an undercover agent on this who had several conversations with this guy, and learned of the extent of what he wanted to do. He wanted to do a U.S.-based attack on behalf of al-Qaeda. It appears that he was radicalized in the U.S. There's not information, though, if he traveled out of the country, that kind of thing. That's according to the FBI. During their press conference yesterday, they gave a lot of information about this. And they said basically what he wanted to do was target downtown Cleveland during the 4th of July festivities, the fireworks parade, that kind of thing. And he had already gone downtown and looked around to see, where potential targets would be and what area he could possibly park a big truck filled with explosives like we saw in Oklahoma City. These conversations that he had with the undercover agent, they're listed verbatim. Some of them are in the indictment, and it is chilling to read these things because he was very descriptive as to how he thought bodies should be disposed of and what he wanted to do as far as targeting the families of military members.
Right.
He also wanted to do a future attack in Philadelphia. He said that was the big target he had in mind. He wanted to do that one on Labor Day.
Yeah, and my comment when I say these people, obviously these people that are radicalized, American citizens or foreign nationals or whatever, that I guess the term would more mean ideological, that by any means necessary seek to cause us harm.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly what this guy wanted to do, was to harm. I mean, he outlined how he wanted to put shrapnel and, I guess bomb-making material in remote control cars and, take them to parade or the fireworks or whatever, and put little American flags on them where they would be, oh, how cute, little patriotic cars, and, give them out to the kids of military families. I mean,
Boy, how
he
sick.
also referenced the Boston Marathon bombers in some of his conversations. He talked about targeting Marines. I mean, this guy gave a lot of information to the FBI.
How sick when you think of that. Again, it goes to show you that even though ISIS, we hear, is on the run and Al-Qaeda is on the run, you have these franchise or these elements that use social media to do their bidding, and they're out there all the time, so we always must be vigilant.
Yes, and that's exactly what the FBI said. They said they don't know exactly how close to actually carrying out these threats were, but they felt like they couldn't sit back and wait to find out.
Well, that's good news.
Mm-hmm.
Connie J. Powers, we appreciate you, and happy Independence Day.
Sure. Thank you. You too.
Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Jim from Middleton, on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Jim.
Actually, I'm in Caldwell right now, Kevin.
Always on the move.
Anyway, your last caller just about hit it spot on. He said a lot of what I was going to say. And, the left, the Democrats, the progressive, produce people like this. The other gal, I forget her name, Cindy, I believe, mentioned, about mental illness. A lot of these people are just products of leftist upbringing and mindset and so forth. They have no remorse. They have very little value for life. And they've been told they were victims all their lives, and everyone else is against them and so forth. They just don't have any sense of humanity. And, this is what the biggest problem is. And people like Mayor Beater that they're only generous with other people's money. I've never seen a liberal care from their own pocket. They always get paid to care, and they just use that as the facade to play these games. But anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you, Kevin.
Well, and I would hope that we don't stifle discussion on this. And, on one hand, we are a very generous and beneficial community, but if people still want to disagree with what's going on as far as people being placed here and such, they should have the freedom to voice those opinions without being vilified.
Well, Kevin, I agree. And the thing of it is, the left has seized the attitudes of the right, and now it gets specific. Most conservative or traditional working Americans, have been taught to work hard, pay their taxes, don't complain, play by the rules, and so forth, okay? So, as a result, when the left gets in our face and calls us racist, no good, insensitive, people kind of just, crawl into a hole. They don't know how to react to that. They're none of that. But they've been taught not to, protest and be disruptive and so forth. So, keeping the lines of communication, the left, the right, and you're a perfect example, have been a beacon of that. I mean, you let some pretty far out people, speak on your show, and there was at one time people wanted to ban Liberal Steve. And I was one of them that said no, only because, I sincerely believe in our Constitution and our freedom of speech. And you allow the guy to come on, and usually he just wastes airtime and just talks out of both sides of his mouth. But the point is it's the conservatives who are the tolerant ones and will listen and so forth. Because look what the left is doing. I mean, they're just tearing things up. And if the right has a rally of some type, they're shutting them down. When you first got here and we were doing the Tea Party movements and we were doing the marches downtown, which I went and my wife and daughters went several times when you were there, and the police said that this is the most peaceful, cleanest, movement or group of people I've ever been around. And then you see just the opposite on the left. But we'll keep the lines of communication open, Kevin. Let's see if the left does.
Jim, thank you. In Caldwell, take care.
Okay. You take care, Kevin. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller in the morning. Taking your calls, getting your reaction. The big vigil yesterday, thousands of people showed up. Very emotional. And yes, there are a lot of words that were spoken. A lot of words. But it comes down to actions and such. And I don't think that the people that were at the vigil are the ones that we need to worry about. It's like when we pass gun laws. The people that obey gun laws, you don't have to worry about that. But there is the wolf at the door. Reminds me of that Toby Keith song when he talks about being an American soldier. You know, who keeps the wolf from the door? Well, the police and others. And we're going to have to step it up. Look at what happened in Meridian. You had a shootout, officer down. He's left the hospital, but had not one but two tourniquets. A good Samaritan came by to help him. And what really upsets most of us is when people go after the police. I don't see the protesters keeping us safe. You know, it's very easy to be a critic. It's not so easy to be part of the solution. I think that's what we're missing here. But back to the people that were singing and saying we're vowing this is a boy. Of course it's not. But you had an intruder, an interloper, a criminal from Los Angeles, California, come in, who was thrown out of an apartment complex and, as Chief Bones said, was looking to exact vengeance. And he killed a 3-year-old little girl. Now it will be up to our system of the criminal justice system to try him. Right?
I don't understand none of this, sir.
That was the accused, Timmy Kenner, yesterday.
What about the right to gather evidence?
As he was being arraigned. My thoughts, my views. The Treasure Valley is different. It's changed. You know, we joke about not locking your car doors. Lock your darn doors. Lock your doors in your house. You see someone outside your house or your apartment or your building, call the cops. You don't know what you're facing anymore. I'm not being an alarmist, just a realist. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Blessed to be part of your day. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Max in Garden City, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Hey, how you doing?
Well, and you?
You know, I'm living the dream. I'm listening to you right before the break. You sound like a bunny rabbit in the bushes. Say something, say something. We're not safe anymore. Come on, Kevin. Are you a bunny rabbit in the bushes? I'm not. I pack. I live my life. I do my thing. I'm not looking on every corner for the boogeyman. If he jumps out at me, I'll rip his spine out. Otherwise, I live a nice, happy life here in Boise. And if you think it's not safe here, go to L.A. where that little punk murderer came from. I like your show, Kevin, but I do think you're alarmist. What say you?
Everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Yes, they are. And I'll agree to disagree anytime.
And you're always welcome to do that.
Well, you know, see, bad things happen. Even in Mayberry, bad things happen. We can't let these bad things. Well, after 9/11, the whole country grew a yellow streak down its back. We don't need that anymore. We need to just say, all right, bad things happen. It happened. Let's move on with our life. Leave it to the cops and the federal agencies to see if there's a future threat. Let's get on with our lives. Let's not have another, and again,
Max, thank you. Traffic and weather together. And Kevin Miller in the morning. Did you know KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM is your home for Fox News on the radio. That's right. Fair and balanced. Kevin Miller morning, Sean Hannity afternoons. Keep it here. Stay informed. KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.